Hello, listeners, and welcome once again to the Thwipping Boys podcast. I'm Simon, and I'm here with Jon.
Hello.
And we are talking about Babylon 5 Season 3 now. Yep, we're 3 seasons in, but we're doing this a little bit of a different way to the way we've talked about Seasons 1 and 2. So I'm just going to pass it over to Jon to explain.
Babylon 5 Season 3 is called The Point of No Return, I believe, after Season 1, Signs and Portents, and Season 2, The Coming of Shadows. So Season 3 is largely believed to be the best season. It's interesting in that every episode is written by the same guy, series creator Joseph Michael Straczynski.
Joe to his friends.
Joe, yes. And so what we're doing with this season, and maybe for a portion of season 4, which Simon didn't necessarily know yet, is to do something that's always worked for us very well in reviewing comics, which is to watch one episode, not watch the next one, talk about that episode, and then continue like that. It's not that interesting for me necessarily, but with Simon, because he's never seen it before, and he's a former cynic, a former hater that's giving it a go, that allows him to, you get as I've explained it before, you get the ups and downs, you get the predictions about what's going to happen, you get the surprises when they're fresh. It's just a good way to do it. It's always worked well for us with comics, and we've done it for Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's the approach we're taking this season. And yeah, hopefully it will serve us well. So we are talking about the first episode today, Matters of Honor.
Okay.
So a small ranger training base is attacked by the Shadows. Meanwhile, Earth Force sends a representative to find out more about the ship that destroyed Lieutenant Keffer. Now, probably the first thing to point out is we've got new credits.
Yes, we have. A lot more dour and depressing than the other one.
Yes.
With Ivanova doing the voiceover, and it's no longer talking about their last best hope for peace. They're saying that it was their last best hope for peace, but that failed, and now it's their last best hope for survival. And it's just the music
for victory, but yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, sorry, for victory, yeah. And the music's changed.
Yeah.
The music's a lot more downbeat and ominous. You had like the floating heads during the intro sequence. They're a lot more kind of stern and serious now. Apart from Franklin, he still manages to crack a smile in his.
Yeah.
What I will say about this, since we're talking about the credits, is really annoys me that they put Marcus in there.
Oh, yeah.
Why? He's a brand new character. Why put him into the credits before he's even introduced?
I don't think it's likely to be an artistic choice. I think they probably had to send the credits off, or finish the credits, or get the credits signed off, or something like that. Obviously things had changed. Maybe in TV world things were a bit more flexible by the time something like Buffy came around, because they did a lot of mucking around with the credits in that to make it part of the overall experience, make sure you were surprised, that kind of thing.
Buffy was only a year after this, Jon.
If
this was 96...
No, this is 95.
Right,
but then
okay,
we're talking about later on in Buffy,
Yeah, but I've seen credits played with before now.
Yeah.
The point is that I really don't think if he's going to be a main cast member, don't stick him in the credits for the very first episode.
Well, I think season 2
not as maybe an introducing or an
yeah,
but to have him where he was, it's obvious that he's going to be a major member of the cast, and it just kind of ruined the surprise for me of seeing someone. Oh, he's still in it. Well, now I know. Well, he's obviously going to be in it for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just really annoyed me, and that's why I prefer how opening credits are now, where it is for a lot of shows, it literally just says the name.
Boom.
Yeah, it says the name of the show, and then
Breaking
it
Bad.
has the credits over the opening of the episode.
Yeah.
I much prefer that way.
Yeah. And season 2 did it as well, with suddenly introducing Sheridan, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you'd have seen, I mean, I knew he was coming in, but if you'd have seen that for the first time, you'd be like, "Who's this lad?
Yeah,
Where's Sinclair?"
where's Sinclair gone? Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is it's the I think for most people it's the it failed. That
yeah,
gets everyone. That's pretty awesome. But then we've got this weird heads thing, which is we've talked about this before about how some of the reasons why it's hard to take seriously sometimes is the stylistic conventions of making television back then. That's something you would have done at the beginning of a soap opera. It's out
yeah,
of place here to have the heads coming up. A few of them, like you said, a couple of them smiling, some of them turning. It's
yeah.
just so cheesy and so out of place, especially after this awesome, epic first half of the credits.
I completely agree.
I remember you saying just before you'd started watching it, I can't remember what it was, but that I can't remember how you described it, but you basically thought that the show was mostly conversations. And I was like, whoa, what? No, this is a war show. It's about war.
Yeah, I thought it was more of a kind of space, possibly political drama kind of show.
Which it is.
But it's yeah, I very much I didn't think there was all that much action in it, and to be honest, I probably got more of that belief from the fact that this is compared to Deep Space Nine, and every episode I've seen of Deep Space Nine is Cisco sitting down talking to someone. That's all I've seen of Deep Space Nine. So it was probably the fact that these two shows have been compared.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we've got an opening credit sequence where every scene is something blowing up or someone being punched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we've touched on him briefly already, but we've got a new character, Marcus, played by Jason Carter.
Englishman.
Yes. What do you think of Marcus?
He's very English.
He's ridiculously English.
it's it's really if I were to talk to him in the street, I probably wouldn't think anything of it. But seeing him in a show full of full on Americans like Sheridan, it really stands out as being so incredibly English.
I don't know. I think if I ran into him on the street and had a conversation with him, I'd be like, "Are you from 100 years ago?"
Would you still be like, oh, jolly hell,
Yeah.
listen to you there? Yeah, I think that not all that much was kind of. You didn't really learn all that much about him at this point, other than the fact that you're supposed to think he's damn cool. I know because he's got his extendy bow staff,
Yeah.
hasn't he? Which, to be fair, was quite cool. I wouldn't mind one of those. Yeah, he was all right.
Yeah. He played a main villain in an episode of Angel.
What episode was that, John? Seeing as how I seem to have better knowledge of Angel than you now.
The really dodgy season 4 casino episode, Double or Nothing.
Right. Okay.
Do you know the one I mean?
Yes.
He's the Cockney demon in charge of the casino.
Okay. And covered in makeup, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's gone on to do good things.
Yeah. So this episode, what's this episode about? So yeah,
We've already said.
Marcus turns up at Babylon 5 and goes to Sheridan for help because there's a secret ranger base. Well, obviously not that secret because the Shadows have found out about it in Drazi space, and I can't remember the details now. Something about a Centauri. The Centauri are blockading it,
Yeah.
preventing them from escaping, and I think the whole
I don't think that the Centauri. Do the Centauri know that the Rangers are there, or is it just that because obviously they're expanding into Drazi space?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it's because they're just starting to suck everyone else into their war. They're just expanding.
Yeah, and then the Rangers aren't able to escape, and so Marcus comes to Sheridan asking for help. And we also get Morden and Londo talking. Londo basically, he's seen that things have gone too far, and he's like, "Screw you! I want out of this deal. I want nothing more to do with you." And then Morden says to him about how he's now he's been talking to Reefer,
Yeah.
and him and Reefer have come to an agreement, and it's that the Shadows will take possession of this planet.
Yeah.
Zargoth 5 or something? Zargos 5? Or I can't remember what it's called. But is that because the Rangers are there
Yeah.
that the Shadows want? Right, okay.
That's the one planet in that quadrant that they want. Yes, that's
Yeah.
why.
Okay.
So yeah, Sheridan, he is supposed to be dealing with somebody from EarthGov who's trying to find out what the Shadows are, and he just leaves him in the lurch and goes off to help the Rangers.
In a really cool ship.
Yeah.
A Minbari Vorlon cross build. A ship that it's like the Swiss Army knife of ships.
Yeah. It's
Really advanced technology, incredibly advanced technology, nimble, fast.
but big enough to be an actual
It's a
warship.
warship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has its own very own built-in jump engine.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, the White Star is cool.
yeah, definitely looks it.
So yeah, what do you think of this one then?
I thought this was a really cool episode. It had some quite funny moments in it, and
Which
it also
bits made you laugh?
Franklin having no idea what was going on made me
I
laugh
don't remember
because
that.
they at the end they are Sheridan is talking about the Shadows and about the future and what the future holds, and Franklin's just sitting there going, I know that I'm in the medbay most of the time, and I know that I'm the last person to be told anything around here, but what are these Shadows?
Right.
So it really just seems like he is literally the last one to know any of this. And throughout this whole I just imagined him throughout this whole speech that Sheridan had given, just having no clue what was happening,
Yeah.
just being completely dumbfounded.
I've got to
Because
stop watching these at midnight just before I go to bed.
Well, because for the last 10 minutes you drift off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was quite decent. There were one or two other quite funny moments. I'm sure there was one with Ivanova somewhere that I can't quite remember. And you had this Earth government security guy turn up, and he was talking to all of the ambassadors about this. Now, I'm not quite sure whether Londo's dream was false or not, because he doesn't know what these ships look like, so he may well have had a prophetic dream that these ships flying over Centauri Prime.
Right.
But he could also have been lying.
We've seen him have that dream.
Have we?
I think so.
Was this the one where he was Emperor?
Might have been. I think it was in possibly season 1 or season 2. Well, it was obviously in one of the two, but I can't remember which.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I must have completely forgotten that. Okay, so he was telling the truth there. That's cool. And then following on from being shown the ship here, the shadow ship here is where he then went on to talk to Morden, wasn't it? So the bit I mentioned earlier actually took place after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you notice the subtle? You might not have done, but did you notice the shadow whisper in this in this scene?
Shadow whisper? No.
It's when Morden goes to walk away, and there's just you hear, because there's a certain noise the shadows make when they talk. You hear that very quietly, and then he stops and goes, "Just one point. Can we meet later and discuss this one little thing?"
Right. Okay. No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
God, that must have been very subtle.
Yeah, it's only because I know to look for it, sort of thing.
Because you're a nerd.
Yeah.
It's only because you're a Babylon 5 nerd. Yeah, so we have the is it the White Star? Did you say?
White Star, yes.
Yes.
Remember the Minbari ship that Sheridan blew up was called the Black Star.
Oh yes, that's right. That is correct.
Mm.
I also liked one of the other moments I liked was where as they managed to get the Rangers to escape, but as they do, a shadow ship turns up, and this led to quite a cool moment for me from Sheridan, where Delenn talks about how the Shadow's ship is too powerful, too much firepower. The White Star can't take it on, and Sheridan just goes, "I remember being told that once before."
Mm.
Just kind of that time when I blew up your ship.
Yeah.
So I quite like that bit. And yeah, so we had a little bit of a chase between a shadow ship and the White Star, in which the White Star entered jump space through a jump gate in order to. It didn't want the shadows to know that
Yeah.
the White Star had jump capabilities. And as it was leaving hyperspace, it activated its own jump gate
Its own jump point.
during exiting.
It opened a
And
jump
this kind of
point in the jump gate as it came
right,
up.
and this kind of created some kind of disturbance which blew up the jump gate
Yeah.
as the shadow was coming out of it,
Yeah.
thus destroying the shadow ship.
The
Probably.
bonehead maneuver.
Yes, that was the one.
Oh, was it?
That was the Ivanova line. Yeah, when she the bonehead maneuver. No offense.
And
Yeah.
he's like, what would happen? Have you ever wondered? I can't remember what it was, but what would happen if you opened a jump point inside a jump gate? And she's like, no, and neither should you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was the moment that I thought was quite funny.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, and they get back to Babylon 5 and then they decide to kind of reassert their efforts, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, and he talks about getting prepared for war and stuff like that.
And don't forget the ending.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. So who was this woman?
I don't think we know.
Okay, but I assume she is quite high up in Earth government at this point, considering he is the Earth security guy is reporting to her. It turns out that this woman, presumably in Earth government, possibly part of Bureau 13, is working with Morden and the Shadows and some other guy who I don't recognise. Should I?
No, but it's a psychop, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that he was dressed like what's his name?
Bester.
Bester.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so it looks like there's all this entanglement, as people have been saying, about the Psychor and the Cyclops being corrupt, and obviously Earth government being corrupt. But I didn't really get a picture of what their plan was.
No.
I don't know whether I assume that's how it's meant to be.
Yeah.
You're meant to just get the slightest kind of slither for it. But yeah, that was quite good, quite cool revelation. Yeah, it's going to be balls to the wall, all out this season. I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It certainly is.
it's going to be really hard watching it episode to episode because I batch watch stuff. So
Yeah, I know. But you can watch episode 2 now.
yeah, I will.
I'm also watching Stargate SG-1, and as of last night, The Shield. So if I'm waiting to watch the next Babylon 5, I can watch something else in the meantime quite easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great. Okay, episode 2. Hello, listeners. We're back now, having watched episode 2 of season 3 of Babylon 5, and episode 2 is called Convictions. A mad bomber is loose on Babylon 5. When they find him, he threatens to detonate the station if his demands are not met. Meanwhile, Jakar and Londo are trapped in an elevator. Londo wants to work together so they can escape, but Jakar refuses to aid his nemesis. These synopses have been getting worse and worse, I think.
Where are you pulling these
I
from?
think they're from IMDb.
Right.
And I think they're sort of provided by users. At first they were good, but they've just been getting quite bad. I might start writing my own.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, it might make more
Makes it a
sense.
bit more interesting.
So yeah, episode 2. Any thoughts?
If I were to quote the following line to you, would it mean anything? Your soul is mine.
Your soul is mine.
What about your brother's soul is mine?
No.
Because one of the security guards was Shang Tsung from the Mortal Kombat movie.
Right.
The Asian guy with the tied back hair.
Never seen it. Right. Okay.
Oh, it's a good movie, John. It's one of the best video game movies around.
Maybe we'll talk about that one day.
Yeah, it's genuine. It's one of my favorite films. But yeah, that's kind of what Shang Tsung says in the film. So
Right. Okay. Has he been in this before, or is he just?
I don't
turned up
know.
now.
It's that kind of like he was. I think he was high enough profile back then that it would be a surprise if it was a bit part, no name, in for one episode cameo. But I feel like I would have noticed him if he'd have been in it before.
Okay.
So no, I don't. I don't think so. I also want to ask you if you've heard of the locked in a room structure of TV episode.
I
You have obviously encountered it
have.
before.
I have, but I don't think it's necessarily relevant to this issue. This issue, for God's sake.
Oh, it's very relevant.
When we used to do when we used to do comics reviews, we used to keep calling them episodes. Now we're doing more TV, I'm calling them issues. Sorry. Yeah, okay, go on.
Well, the locked in the room trope is where you have two characters who have opposing views on something, and you put them in a room together, usually in a dire situation, and you kind of it's like a evaluation of their relationship with each other.
Okay,
Buffy's
I
done
thought
it.
it was. So what was Buffy's?
Xander and Cordelia was when they were stuck in a room, and that was
Actually,
when
they were
they
locked in a closet or the
was it in the
basement.
and yeah, and they in the basement it
The
was.
guy who was made up of worms.
Yes.
Right.
Smallville has done it a few times, and the best example is Red Dwarf with Marooned.
With the camphor chest.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's not
Now.
what it was. I thought you were. I thought you were essentially talking about bottle episodes, which is a different thing.
Yes. Now, I kind of got annoyed with this because I know I've said quite a few times in all of the things that we've talked about how I don't tend to like kind of the standard way of doing things. Like you'll hear me, oh, that was generic. You know, that was a really obvious thing. Lots of places have done that, but usually these kind of episodes are some of the best that the show puts out, and they're usually the most interesting. And so I really felt it was quite a missed opportunity. The fact that the boring bomb plot in this episode actually took precedent over the two most interesting characters in the show being locked in a kind of a death situation with each other.
Right. So you're saying I thought you were going to say that was disappointing. What you're saying is you'd like to have seen more of that.
I'd like to have seen much more because
Yeah.
I liked I liked the fact that kind of it was a bit subversive of this trope
Because they didn't make anything up at all.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, they didn't.
No,
come
they
to
didn't.
any sort of
Resolution.
middle ground or anything.
And the fact that Jakar was perfectly happy with dying,
Yeah.
and to the point where he was disappointed that they got rescued.
Giggling like a little girl.
Yeah, like that was brilliant, and it just would have been. I think it would have been probably the best episode so far if it was just maybe half an hour of those guys and then 15 minutes of the other bits and pieces around the ship.
It would have been a bit like it would have been like a play almost.
Yeah.
Would have been. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. It would have been really cool. Bastard, monster, fanatic, murderer. You are insane. That is why we will win.
You do good impressions. I have a feeling that you've been practicing those for many a year.
Well,
ready for the time where you can go as Jakarta Comic Con or something.
That's a good idea. In when I think of my favourite funny scenes from genre television, there's always three that come to mind immediately. Angel dancing,
Yeah.
Teal'c. You are not the only one who has to endure some discomfort, O'Neill. Do you know that one?
No.
In Window of Opportunity, which is a Groundhog Day episode, they keep getting sent back to the same time, and O'Neill is bitching about the fact that he gets sent every time he gets sent back. He gets sent back to a boring conversation.
This is the one with the cereal, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
yeah.
he gets sent back to a boring conversation with Daniel. He doesn't know the answer to the question and didn't hear it the first time because he wasn't listening. Till just goes, "You are not the only one who has to endure some discomfort, O'Neill." And every time he flashes back, he gets slammed in the face by a door.
Right.
Just immediately, he can't bring his hands up or anything. It's Sergeant Siler, I think. He just walks through a door and slams it in his face. It's
Okay.
genius. And the other one is this scene where Jakar starts going, "I can hear you."
Yes. Could anybody hear me? I can hear you. Yeah, no, that was I thought that was a brilliant piece, a little bit of comedy that really tied into where the character is at the moment as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I quite like about it, the fact that it's not wasted comedy.
And luckily, you've probably forgotten, but I did mention it maybe in our season 1 reviews when you were talking about how some of the humour was hit and miss. I was saying there's a very funny scene in the lift one day.
Right, okay. And that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really sure I have much more to say about this episode. Like I said, I didn't like the bomb plot
Yeah.
storyline. Didn't really care about Linnea.
Brother Theo. Well,
Yeah,
backtrack a bit. You didn't care about Linnea,
not especially.
so you think it was interesting that Londo wanted to sit with him and his poor attempts at keeping him sort of going.
Yeah, I kind of. We know that Londo's still got a bit of a heart there, and he's still trying to kind of cling on to it as much as I can. So I wasn't like surprised particularly by the way he acted. Yeah, I think it was just because it was part of this bomb plot, and I was just like, God,
You didn't think Linnea was going to die?
no, not at all.
Yeah, Brother Theo. I only really mentioned him of interest because he was in it before. Don't know if you recognised his voice.
No, I didn't.
He was the original Draal.
What during the
A Voice in the Wilderness, the Great Machine.
Right. Oh, right. Okay.
Delen's friend.
Why not just get him?
Well, I think what I assume must have happened is that he was busy, and then they had to replace him. And then they came up with the contrivance of, "Oh, it's made me younger."
Yes.
To get around that, and then he was like, "I'd be quite happy to come back," or maybe JMS was like, "We'd be quite happy to have you back." So,
okay.
Yeah, that's what I reckon happened there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure there's really anything else in this one. It's fair enough. Let's have a break to watch episode 3. Episode 3, season 3. A Day in the Strife. Sheridan and Ivanova deal with a dispute with the Workers' Guild. A probe arrives and gives the station a test. Garibaldi talks to Franklin about his stim usage. That still wasn't me, by the way. I didn't write that one. I haven't started yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't think I understood what the dispute with the Workers' Guild sort of centered on.
Well, it was something
to do with weapons.
It was something to do with this delay in like the cargo transport, I think, wasn't it?
I had the impression it was something to do with whether they could carry weapons, or I
don't know.
I didn't really follow it. I don't know if I was just tired again, or because he was like, "You've got that gun on you. I've just got this stick.
No. What he was saying there was that kind of it's all right for you sitting up there, surrounded by guards with, with guns. But then, yeah, it sounds like he was kind of the issue that he had was that he wasn't well enough protected or
That's what
something.
I picked up from it, is that he felt that he needed to do more to protect himself. That's where I got the impression that it was about weapons from, but I didn't understand it. So you think it might be more like
Maybe
the original, that episode in season 1 where Sinclair fell out with the Dockers, that it might be around that. It might be around paying
no.
commissions or...
I think no. I've just clicked on it. I think because the reason why there are the delays is because they're searching each ship for weapons. I think. And so I think maybe these are people who have had weapons confiscated or something. And so are basically going, well, you've got weapons. Why aren't we allowed to have weapons to protect ourselves? If, because obviously the weapons have been confiscated to prevent any serious incidents during the strife that's going on with the Centauri and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
they're probably basically saying, well, if something happens, surely we have the right to be able to protect ourselves. And I think that's what it is. But yeah, I agree. The episode kind of cut in halfway through the argument. So I
Yeah,
didn't really.
it was just a framing device, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what was the main story? I don't think there was even a main story to this. It was just
There were
various little
lots of
things
framing
going on.
devices. We had the alien probe, which turned up and said, "We can solve all of your ills and give you everything you ever wanted if you answer these questions." And then at the end of the episode, Sheridan figured out that it wasn't actually it was like a Trojan horse, basically. By answering the questions, and if you couldn't answer the questions, it would blow up.
Yeah.
Basically, the way they interpreted it was like weed killer. If you're not intelligent enough to answer these questions, then you aren't intelligent enough to be alive, basically. But then Sheridan figured out at the end that what it actually was it was a kind of, like I said, a Trojan horse. If you answered the questions, then these aliens would deem you a threat and so would blow up and destroy you. I would personally have questioned earlier what was in it for the aliens.
Yeah.
Oh, all these
Yeah.
people, these aliens are turning up and they're saying, if we can answer these questions, they'll give us everything we need. That doesn't sound suspicious at all, does it?
Yeah. I remember JMS talking. I read something years ago where he was talking about where he got the idea for this, and apparently this was a discussion the US government had in maybe the 70s. They thought one of the most likely scenarios to first come into contact with an alien race would be a probe coming into our solar system and basically knocking and saying, "Is anyone home?" And apparently to this day, there's an official response in the books, which is that we do not answer it for this
Right.
reason, in case it's a threat, basically.
Yeah, so we had that, and we had, like you say, Garibaldi. Basically, he talked to Franklin about his addiction to alcohol and gambling. And he said about how he felt that him and Franklin were two very similar personalities, very obsessive personalities, and that when you put something in front of them that it's easy to become obsessed about, then they would. So alcohol and things like that. And that Franklin had been abusing stims. Did we
Yeah.
know this before?
Yes, it's been for a little while. I don't know.
Are they
Yeah,
pills?
they're injections. He does one
They're
later in the
injections.
episode, doesn't he?
Oh,
It's
yes.
basically, I don't know. It's like I think in the forces, fighter pilots get given like amphetamines and stuff. Sometimes it's probably something similar to that.
Yeah.
I think there have been a couple, like occasional usage is fine for like emergency situations, and it's like going and having a very strong cup of coffee. But if you were having coffee constantly to keep yourself
Every
up for
hour.
36-hour shifts and that kind of thing, that will get very dangerous very quickly, and that's
Yes.
basically what it is. But yeah, it has mentioned before that he's taking them really subtly, and it's talked about all the hours he's doing and stuff.
Okay.
And actually, I don't think he's addicted to stims. I think he's addicted to the work.
Helping people.
Yeah, he's addicted to the work. His heart's in the right place, and he
Yeah,
can't. He
it's
doesn't
not
like
like.
the idea of going to sleep when there are people who need surgery and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not like he's sitting in his quarters taking stims.
Yeah,
He's in the med bay while he's injecting these stims. I still haven't connected with Franklin
really.
in season 3. I just haven't. Like, the stories that you would have seen a trend by now, where the stories that focus on him are generally some of my least favorite. It's not on the same scale as Talia.
Yeah,
Like, he's an enjoyable character. I just don't find him particularly interesting. Nothing that's been said about him has been interesting. The only thing I know about him is he works really hard. He just wants to do good by people,
yeah.
and that's about it. Like, that's not an interesting character.
Okay.
We also what else did we have? We had Via being sent to Mimbar
Mimba. Yeah.
by what's his name, Londo, and this came just after quite an uncomfortable. Basically, the probably the main story of the episode actually is that Jakar's replacement turns up.
Oh yeah.
We haven't talked about that, but yeah. Jakar's replacement turns up. Another Narn. He's been appointed by the Centauri, hasn't he, as like the kind of liaison to Babylon 5. And Jakar has been ordered to return to Narn, seemingly to execution, even though they're told that
Yeah.
wouldn't happen. And there's just a big kind of discussion on whether Jakar should go, what would happen to the Resistance if he left, whether the Resistance are in the wrong, or whether these Narn turning up are betraying their own people and stuff. And there was quite a the discussion between Londo and who was the replacement?
Oh, wasn't he called Fanar or something?
I can't remember, but yeah, there was a quite an awkward, really uncomfortable talk between Londo and him, where basically Londo's like, if I visit Narn, will I be safe? Will the streets be clear of protesters? And this Narn goes,
We don't have any streets.
no, he says the streets that survived are empty and stuff, and they're just these continuing kind of really awkward lines between the two of them.
Yeah.
And after he leaves, Veer goes up to him and basically goes up to Londo and basically goes, "Was that really necessary? Did you really need to be a bit of a dick?"
Yeah.
And then it was after that Veer got reassigned to be the ambassador, I suppose it is. The ambassador to Mimbar.
So I think when we talked about the last episode, you said that you could still tell that Londo had a heart kind of thing. And I think what was happening here is a couple of things. First of all, Veer does get to him because he does still have a heart and he does still care. Veer's, like, if he didn't, Veer's words wouldn't affect him, but he does, so they do. And secondly, that he's made the active choice to get rid of that guilt-causing influence so that he can continue down. It's like choosing the dark path. It's I need this guy out of the way because I've got horrible things to do and I don't need him making me feel bad about it, because he will make me feel bad about it if he's
he's burying his head in the sand, isn't he? he wants to avoid.
But it is also emblematic of a choice that he's made to take
Yes.
that path, which,
Yeah.
up until now, to an extent, he was maybe tricked into it and wasn't that comfortable with it. But yeah, he's kind of a bit more actively pursuing that now.
I am worried now that Veer is going to be out of the show for a while because, I mean, he has honestly become one of my favourite characters. The bit where he is having that conversation with Londo and he talks about because Londo says that it's about pride now.
Breaking no pride.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Veer goes, "You've already beaten them. Do you need to break them as well?" And Londo's like, "Yes." Yeah. So I hope he's not kind of gone for a long time. Be interesting if we see him on Minbar because we've not actually seen. It is Minbar, isn't it?
Yeah, Mimbar.
You're right.
Have we
Yeah.
not seen it yet?
I don't think we've seen the actual planet, have we?
No, I don't think so.
No, we've just seen the Grey Council.
We've heard it described. I think Delenn talked about how their city's carved out of crystal.
That would be a hell of a budget for effects if we managed to see that. Just thinking about what else was in the episode. Quite liked a couple of lines I found quite funny in this. There was when they found out Sheridan and what's the name, Ivanova, were talking about this bomb, and Sheridan said that if they all blew up, then it would mean that he wouldn't have to go to a meeting that he hated, that he really didn't like to go to. And Ivanova says, "I'm always finding the good in situations, Captain." And he went, "Absolutely. If I didn't, I might end up like you," and just walked away. And then the other one was, I think it was towards the end of the episode. Ivanova said something about like, "Lord, if I manage to get through this without going insane," or something like that. And I think just someone in the background, I don't know who he is, he just went, "Well, there goes my belief in the Almighty."
Who was that? I don't remember that.
I don't know. I don't know if we've got a name for him or anything like that, but
Is he the guy with dark hair who's always on the console?
I think so.
He might be called Corwin or something, Lieutenant Corwin or Connell or...
So it has got some really kind of some really witty dialogue at points, definitely. And most of it seems to kind of come when Ivanova's around, and I wouldn't have guessed that in season 1.
No.
Like at the start of season 1. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. So 3 episodes into season 3, lots of stuff to go. We will return with our review of episode 4 right about now. Episode 4 is called Passing Through Gethsemane, and I had to learn how to say that. I kept wanting to say Gethsemane or something.
Okay.
Now, I not only did I not write my own synopsis, but I actually forgot to copy and paste the one that was on IMDb. So I'm going to try and make it up on the fly.
You are a crappy master of ceremonies, John.
A member of Theo's brotherhood is haunted by memories he doesn't understand. While I've forgotten the B plot. Was there a B plot? Or was that it?
No, there was the surprise return of Lita, who revealed that she has joined up with the Vorlons.
Right, let's try this. A member of Theo's brotherhood experiences scary memories he doesn't recognise while a Vorlon ship returns an unexpected cargo to Babylon 5. How was that?
Yes. Rubbish, but it'll do. Shall I just have a look now?
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's it. That's what happens.
Yeah, that is what happens. You're right.
And we had quite a cool guest star in this one.
Don't make me guess, because I'm not going to be able to get it.
Didn't you recognise Brad Dourif,
Who is Brad Dourif?
Billy Bibbit in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah,
Grima,
you mentioning a film I've seen once.
Grima Wormtongue from the Lord of the Rings films.
You're mentioning a guy who was in loads of makeup and put on a voice.
Dot Cochrane from Deadwood.
Not seen it.
Thomas Nash in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where, to be fair, he didn't say a word.
Who was Thomas Nash?
He was the paralysed guy.
Who was the paralyzed guy?
Ward shot him.
Oh, right, yes. Okay. Right. Yeah, you're not doing anything for me, John. So this amazing kind of guest, I assume he was Brother Elliot or whatever his name was.
Brother Edward?
Brother Edward. That is correct. So I kind of liked the plot for this. Basically, the way this was laid out was that, like you say, a member of this brotherhood he's experiencing memories. He's being haunted almost. He's given a black rose, and he sees bloody writing on the wall and doesn't quite know what it is. And it turns out that he has been he was a serial killer in the past, and he received a sentence of death of personality, which is that was talked about during the one with the healing machine, wasn't it?
It was, so I thought it was a little bit clunky that they happened to bring it up at the beginning of this episode. I thought Garibaldi talked about it, didn't he?
Really annoyed me, yeah, because there was a trial going on Earth at that point, or somewhere in Earth colonies at that point. But yeah, it was brought up by Garibaldi at the beginning of the episode, which was stupid. It was really signposted then, because they made such a big deal of talking about it that I kind of felt that would come into play a bit later on, especially when they say about how the people who undergo this are then sent out to serve the the wider community, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that so far has been all that we've learned of this order, that they serve people, that like they do things for people.
Yeah.
Like he basically earlier on in the episode was talking about doing, it sounded like accounting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just doing accounting for someone. So yeah, it was signposted quite a lot, and that really annoyed me. It could have been a lot more subtly written and intelligently written. I mean, it was okay. We found out that it was a Centauri psychic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Who was affecting it. And is that the first time we've seen another race being psychic?
I think so, yeah.
Right.
The only
okay.
other race that's really talked about
Volon?
psychics is the Narns, but they've basically repeatedly said we don't have them. We're the only ones without them. But I'm not sure that
Right.
we've seen examples
Okay.
from other races yet.
Yeah. Well, that was quite cool to see. It was kind of cool to see that the people eventually this person dies. He's crucified by people who have basically the families of his victims. A couple of people come to Babylon 5 and take revenge on him. And it was, John, I can hear your...
So yeah, listeners, I've been trying to shut my computer down, but it decided to install 400 updates or something, and obviously you can't just turn it off. So it'll be gone in a minute.
Yeah, so if you hear, then it's the computer.
It's 11 of 14, and so
Okay, that won't be long.
sorry.
And yeah, so where was I? Yeah, the person who basically arranged for him to be killed then went through death of personality himself and joined the Order on Babylon 5.
Which to me was a very... I think JMS might have written for one of these shows at one point, but it was like The Outer Limits or The Twilight Zone or The Scary Door. It was like... it was one of those endings.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? So
Yeah.
this guy, Sheridan's like I really believe in forgiveness. And then the guy that murdered Edward, which really upset Sheridan, walks in, and he's now taken Edward's place as a member of the Brotherhood. And he's like, "What
Yeah.
were you saying about forgiveness, Sheridan?"
And Sheridan just wasn't happy about it at all.
No, but I think Theo, yeah, he did impress the
Theo
point
did
on him.
convince. Well, he kind of convinced him. He still looked pretty pissed off
Yeah.
when it cut to the final scene, which was Kosh and Lita on the Vol on Homeworld.
Oh no, they were in just Kosh's
Wasn't it?
quarters, weren't they?
Oh yeah, because I got confused because she's obviously they've got Vol on Atmosphere, haven't they? In his quarters, because we haven't actually have we seen inside this? We have done.
Well,
But
that's interesting because I don't think his encounter suit has got anything to do with him being unable to survive in normal atmosphere.
No.
I think it's just a hiding place
yeah, but we no. What I'm
and
saying
a way
is
to
that
go on.
we haven't really. I don't think we've really seen his quarters yet, have we? We've just kind of in the darkness.
Yeah.
So far, I think, and so they seem to kind of like be exchanging some kind of something between the two of them. Lita has gills, which
Actually, I forgot about that.
yeah, she has gills and her neck like swells up, so it seems to kind of insinuate that maybe she's been tinkered with to maybe be able to survive all on atmosphere.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. So it's interesting, like her being back after she was only in the. I wonder what the kind of reasons for all this was, because obviously she was in whatever
I forgot
was it
she'd left
Becoming
again.
or the Gathering.
She was in the beginning in the gathering. Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously she wasn't in season 1.
Yeah.
Turned up again in season 2, and now it seems like she's back on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I had forgotten that she'd gone. I thought she was just around still.
Yeah.
So yeah, you said just now Sheridan not looking very happy. One of my notes that I wrote down, and I don't know if it's something that you noticed in season 2, but I've written down at some point Sheridan seems to have stopped grinning all the time. Have you noticed that he tended to, even when angry and that kind of thing, he always tended to have kind of a smile on his face?
Yeah. I mean, that's where we got the kind of the Midwest all-American idea from, isn't it?
Even in season 2, even at his angriest, he'd look really chirpy somehow. And I don't know if I don't know if that's character development or if somebody's had a word and said, "I think you need to be looking a bit grumpier." Because I just noticed it in this episode when I think somebody was talking to him at one point and he just looked really unhappy. And
Well, I suppose it depends on kind of what the overall feeling of the episode is, because the last one was it with the argument that we didn't quite figure out what it was about with the weapons and everything. That was quite a light-hearted episode for him, and he had a couple of funny lines. He did smile a bit in that and stuff. So yeah, I suppose it just depends on what emotion they're trying to go for in the episode.
I like the Minbari view of religion.
What, the fact that the universe has a consciousness and every living being has
a bit of it.
Yeah.
So they don't really believe in a god. Their one sort of religious figure is a war hero.
Well, that's like the Narn, isn't it?
Shaquan, was he a warrior?
Or I don't think he was a warrior, but he was a person. Like, I think maybe he was a kind of like a Gandhi or a Dalai Lama kind of figure.
Yeah.
To them. Yeah.
This episode, the other thing I did write down about this episode, it reminded me about Identity Crisis.
What, the retinkering and the negative implications of that?
Yeah, so I'm sure
and
that
just sanitizing might be the best word to use. Sanitizing people.
I'm sure that quite a few nerds know what we're talking about, but in the older version of our show, when there were three of us, we took quite an in-depth look at a DC Comics series about the JLA called Identity Crisis, which is an amazing book and everyone should read it. But basically the story to that was similar to this in a way, this kind of tinkering with people to make them better. And is that morally okay and better than incarceration and all that kind of stuff goes into it. So yeah, it did remind me of that.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
Yeah. What about you? Any other notes on this one?
I have no more notes on this. Yeah, that's about it for me.
Next episode.
Episode 5.
Episode 5, Voices of Authority. Sheridan has an interesting time dealing with the new political officer stationed by EarthGov, and Ivanova visits the planet below Babylon 5 in search of the first ones.
Yes.
Yeah, what did you think?
Well, this was a bit of a strange episode in that there was an awful lot of important stuff. Kind of, the seeds seemed to be planted for a lot of stuff in this, and there were a number of revelations and confirmations in it. But it's one of those kind of episodes where I'm not really sure how much I actually have to say about it, outside of kind of saying what happened.
Okay, but we had quite a lot of comedy from Ivanova in this one.
Yeah, that kind of went along with what I said.
Yeah, you said you've pointed it out before.
Yeah, how surprising it is that she's actually the person that delivers the comedy. And yeah, there was the bit with the hologram, which was quite funny.
The first one thing?
Where she appeared in front of Sheridan.
Oh,
and
yes.
Musante.
Yes,
was quite funny.
You need to go where all men have been before, or whatever it was.
Yeah, the very cheesy callback to Star Trek.
Yeah.
And her little back and forth with Marcus on the ship. Yeah. Now, I don't know if that's kind of, pointing towards anything or not, but, I'll leave that where it is.
And, of course, Zog. Zog, yes? Zog, no?
Yes.
So, yeah, she enlisted the help of the first ones by using, basically, playground, schoolyard tactics.
He says his dad could beat up your dad, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to rile. Did we get a name for this race?
We didn't. I actually had to ask this question myself and found an answer for it. Is that because it says, "Call us by name and we will be here," when you join the fight or something.
Yes.
Apparently there was there was a name for it, but it was extremely long and it had to be cut for time or something. But basically, we're to, as intelligent sci-fi fans would, we are to assume that the ship communicated with the White Star and let it know its name, so that you could basically a signal that you could broadcast at that spot when you came to recruit.
Right. Okay.
Which isn't too much of a jump, I think.
No, that's not at all.
Or Dral could tell her the name or something.
So there was one thing that there was no Londo in this episode.
No.
Not even a mention of him, really. I don't know if this is the first episode he's not been in, but this is the first time I've noticed it. He's been absent from an episode, and we actually did have about 4 storylines going on in this episode. They were all interconnected, ever so little. There was obviously the main one with Ivanova going to find the first ones to enlist their aid against the shadows.
And I did like, actually, her the way she went over Dral as well was good. Yeah. And
there was there was Sheridan and this political officer, who we'll come on to in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Jakar trying to find out about what all of this stuff... he feels very kind of... out of the dark and out of the loop. and everything like that. And then there's Zach, who also feels out of the loop. There seems to be growing resentment between him and Garibaldi and stuff. There was one line. What was it he said? Garibaldi was like, "You were with me a hell of a lot longer before you were with them." It's like, not really. Like, he first appeared in the show, what, like 2 episodes before the Night's Watch turned up?
Yeah.
Like, so no, not a hell of a lot longer. Not really. I quite like Zach in this episode.
Yeah.
I got where he was coming from. It was the first time that I felt like he was very torn over the Night Watch and what they stand for and things like that. And it's almost like he doesn't want to believe it, but then what other option is he being given if the person who he kind of almost trusts the most in Garibaldi
Is taking part in secret meetings.
Yes, is doing pretty much everything that the Night Watch are saying.
Yeah.
So I completely kind of like, I thought that was a really good episode for him.
I mean, this is one of the things that I think way back in the season 1 podcast, I think I said that a lot of the stuff that happens in this echoes a lot of the way the world went post 9/11, and this whole Night Watch thing is like, politically, we've seen a lot of this stuff over recent years. A lot of really creepy. I don't know, because the way she's talking about it is as if they're the good guys, and you could. But the scary thing is, you could see how easy it would be to be convinced and carried along by what she's saying.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's obviously this idea of our civil liberties being, us having them taken away, our
To
freedom
protect
taken away
ourselves.
in order to protect ourselves. And
Yeah.
the thing is, like, that's not a new concept.
No.
But but with things like the internet now, and how everybody has the internet, and how it's relatively a lot more easy to follow and control and keep an eye on a singular person. It's
The
become
NSA are probably listening to us talking about Babylon 5 right now. Hello.
exactly. It's nobody's listening. It's become a lot more prevalent at the moment. And then you've got, obviously, they were talking about how there would be people who would be accused of like spying and things like that, and that obviously makes you think of Snowden and stuff as well. So
God, we're giving them all the fucking keywords now, aren't we?
Yeah, I know.
Snowden,
Snowden.
Assange, WikiLeaks, spying, terrorism, Night's Watch, sedition. Come on, NSA, you fuckers. Listen to us talk about Babylon 5. Can you imagine in a few weeks' time, they'll be like, they're still going on about this sci-fi show. In fact, wasn't that a gag in something? What was it?
I don't know.
And some TV show where, wasn't it Breaking Bad? It was Breaking Bad with somebody, Hank, and that they were spying on Badger and Skinny Pete, and he was like, "What the hell is Babylon 5? They've been talking about it for 5 hours."
Really?
Don't you remember that?
No.
Yeah. Anyway,
No. Okay. Yeah. So it feels that, like you say, like that's this definitely seems to have preempted a lot of kind of the way that our society has gone in the last 10 years or so. Yeah, I agree.
we did find out. Well, basically confirmation that Clark, our first real confirmation that Clark was behind it.
Yeah, everyone knew it since it happened, but
And
this
of course,
was the first time that we've seen.
That video could be faked. But
See, where did the video come from? No, I know that
something to do
Ivanova.
with the Great Machine.
No, Ivanova. She saw it when she was plugged into the Great Machine, but I don't know
Was it
what
being filmed?
I wasn't sure what the actual origin of it was.
Communication between Clark and Morden, wasn't it?
Yeah, but who was recording it? How did the Great Machine intercept it? How, all this stuff. I just was really unsure about how it actually came into their hands.
Right.
You know, but then at the same time, I'm still not completely sure what the Great Machine is.
Oh, yeah, I don't.
I still don't know
Very
whether
old,
it's
very powerful.
yeah, yeah, but what? Because how is it able to see flashbacks of the Earth Force One blowing up?
I don't know. Maybe
You've
it's
seen
not.
all this.
Maybe it's not a flash. Maybe it recorded it at the time, and it's just in its databank somewhere.
That wasn't like the recording from that we saw or anything like that. It seemed to be that it was um, because Droll said you're seeing echoes of events past or something
Right.
like that. Not you're watching a recording.
Okay.
So yeah, I just I'm not sure about what the Great Machine does at the
Yeah,
moment.
that's fair enough. That's never really explained.
But I don't even know if it was before the first episode that it turned up in. Was it even mentioned?
Before the first episode, it turned up in no, because they didn't know
Right.
it was there.
Because it just seemed like 1 minute kind of like that planet below them hadn't been mentioned, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's this massive weapon machine thing on there. I just
Yeah,
yeah.
because it started because the guy that was running it started dying, so that was when he made it known. I mean, in its defence, I will say, just so you don't worry about it too much, I don't think this is massively spoilery. I mean, at the moment, it might look like the machine is going to allow them to solve everything, and that it's kind of a magic fix-all thing. It is
It's
used
not.
less. It's used less and less in the story from now on, pretty much.
Okay.
I'm not sure how often we hear about it again. I'm sure we do now and then, but it's not like everything. The machine just solves everything for them, which I could imagine at the moment, from your point of view, it looks like it might be able to.
Well, yeah, I mean, not necessarily solve everything for them, but do whatever they want it to do.
Yeah, no, that's not the
You
case.
know, like,
And it
oh, we
might
need
be
to.
because maybe they realised, maybe they were like, oh, this is looking a little bit too all powerful at the moment.
Right.
We better
Okay.
cut back on this. But yeah, that's a fair point. I don't really understand exactly what it is either.
Yeah, and we had like we've mentioned before, we had this political officer turn up, and this gave Sheridan something to do in this episode. Basically, it was she was sent to aid him, so to speak. She used the phrase like whisper in his ear and stuff. He obviously didn't want it to happen. He hates politics. He said that before. He hates politicians. So and then she got sent back because
Yeah.
basically because of this footage of President Clark, which they sent to what's the Earth television station called?
ISN.
They sent it to ISN, didn't they? Because they sent this footage to ISN, she basically got sent back to Earth to help deal with the fallout over it. And I don't know, like, was that part of their plan for her to be sent back?
I don't know. I
Because
don't
it
think.
all just seemed very kind of. What was the point in even introducing her?
No, I don't think it was. I don't think they knew that she would be called back. They don't know enough about the setup of things back home.
It it just seemed pointless, really introducing her. Going to unless she turns up again, that I don't know. It's a bit of a wasted storyline for Sheridan this episode.
Yeah, it was a little bit. It was a little bit of fun.
Yeah. I did quite like the design for the first ones, the other race of first ones, whatever they're called.
Yeah, they look like a I don't know, an African wood mask or something.
Yes, yeah, I thought the huge kind of wooden statue heads that they would that you'd have some places. Yeah, I thought the same.
Maybe they've been to Earth as well.
What you mean, like every other race in every science fiction
Yeah.
ever?
Anything else from? Oh, one of my notes I forgot to mention at the time. Zack being uncomfortable in his uniform in more ways than one. That was quite cool, I thought.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't. I didn't notice the
Because he kept
the
bitching about
subtext
it,
to
didn't
that.
he? Yeah.
Yeah, he kept complaining about how it didn't fit properly,
I don't think I noticed it until this time.
and then obviously he, yeah, in both of the roles in which he's playing, in the Night Watch and as a security officer, he's expressing a lot of discomfort with
Yeah.
what he's having to look past, what he's having to do, and things like that. So, yeah, that was quite cool. Yeah.
So what how did this one end? I don't remember.
How did this one end?
Was this with Jakara in the book?
Oh yes, yeah. Jakar gave Garibaldi the book of Jaquan and said to read it.
Did he
Garibaldi's
say
like,
he had to
but I
read
don't.
it in Narn?
Yeah, Garibaldi says,
Learn.
but I don't know Narn. Learn. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was quite a good moment. Yeah,
Cool. Excellent.
yeah.
Uh,
And that makes me. I mean, I assume that Jakar does have an idea of what's going on.
well, yeah, he did.
Obviously, he saw the shadow.
He was, he was the first. What he was the one who told them all in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's trying to prove helpful so that he can get involved. I think.
Definitely.
Oh, one final thing. Did Marcus make a joke about the French?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was.
It was. Ivanova made a comment about how the aliens understood. So they were like, well, they understand our language. They just don't want to speak it. And he's like, that's funny. Are they French? Or something like that. Yeah. No.
We've talked about this on our podcast before, but there's just something between the British and the French.
Yeah.
You know, I know loads of French people. They're all brilliant, but deep down, there's a hatred between us.
Yeah, deep down, you just want to laugh at each other.
Yeah.
For some reason.
It just goes back. It's genetic memory or something.
Yeah. It's sharp.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's sharp.
Episode 6, Dust to Dust. Bester returns to Babylon 5 to stop the flow of dust, a powerful new drug which can temporarily unlock telepathic powers. But Captain Sheridan and the crew can't risk Bester reading their minds and uncovering their secret Shadow War preparations. So your favourite returns.
Besta.
You still liking him?
Yeah, and it was actually quite interesting to have him in an episode where he wasn't conspiring, going behind people's backs, and generally it seemed that there wasn't too much. Once he kind of obviously took this suppressant that they make him test, there wasn't really too much suspicion surrounding him until his last conversation.
So he...
It seemed like he was for once doing his job.
So you don't think that he was gonna you think he could be trusted not to do unauthorized scans on them to find out? Because I think there are suspicions about Babylon 5. You think?
Oh no! Because he would have done.
Oh right, okay.
But it was nice to see him in a storyline in which people weren't kind of where he wasn't actively going behind people's backs, like because of the suppressant that stopped him doing that, and so we saw a storyline where he actually worked together with the crew and everything, which I just thought was quite a nice change up for Bester as a character.
Okay.
Nice to see him be a cop, like I said.
I can't remember the word he used, but he basically called them drama queens, didn't he? At one point, that was quite funny.
He would definitely have scanned them though. I've got no doubts about that.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So they did the right thing getting the Minbari telepaths to.
Yeah. Although they did do the right thing, but surely that itself kind of would cement suspicion that something is going on there.
I did think that, but I think it's just. I think. I think it's just the idea that even if they're innocent, that being scanned without permission is such a vulgar act of like criminal act that
And they'd be
they
able to, I suppose
it's not necessarily a sign of we're hiding something just because we want our privacy. Again, much like the world today.
I suppose they'd be able to use the historical events of every like Sheridan says, kind of every time Bester seems to go to Babylon 5, something seems to happen. So I suppose the way they could explain it was they're trying to at least protect themselves from something that they might see as untrustworthy
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
And so, yeah, he's come to find some, to stop the flow of dust through Babylon 5, which a drug we've heard mentions of here and there the
Yeah.
last couple of years. And Jakar gets hold of a bunch of it and trips his balls off.
Well, it's not that Jakar gets hold of a bunch of it, it's that Jakar is the whole reason why it's on the station
Well, yeah.
at this point. Because
He's thinking of using it as a weapon in his resistance.
yes, because basically what I don't necessarily think I 100% got the idea, but basically it elevates the levels of telepathy in people who have lapsed abilities, and so latent abilities, sorry, and but because like it's almost a drug high and they're untrained and they're unable to control it, it's basically full flow into people's minds, and they said that it was almost psychic rape, didn't they? So there's
very,
no.
very damaging to probably both parties.
Yes. I thought that was quite cool, and yeah, so Jakar got some of that, and he decided to try some after talking with Lindenberg, or something. The person, the dealer. He took some after he chatted with the dealer about how there was a non-telepath in the past.
Well, there were non-telepaths.
Yeah. Or there were multiple, but because like the latency of that gene has become more and more weak. That gene's become more and more weak as the generations have gone on.
Well, yeah, he said it was specifically not bred out of them. It was cut out of their race,
Yeah.
as in all the telepaths were killed.
Yeah.
He didn't say whether it was by the Centauri during their occupation or whether it was during the earlier Shadow occupation, which happened like 1,000 years ago.
Or maybe it was by themselves.
Yep.
We don't know. It could have been by the Narn.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was quite cool. And it basically it sent Jakar a little bit loopy, and he went straight for Londo, and decided to use his new telepathic powers to basically find out everything that Londo's been involved in. And also, he met an angel? Or his dad as an angel? I couldn't quite work it out.
Well, I think the first one
Was his
is
dad?
his dad. And then
It's Shaquan.
we can only assume it's Shaquan.
Yes.
And then finally it was Jalan or something. He is a very ancient, much older than Shaquan, non-religious figure that he saw when Kosh left his encounter suit. and I think Natoth talked about him as well because she didn't believe in Jaquan, if you remember from that one plant. But you realise that was actually Kosh busting into that. He busted in to break it up.
Well, I saw him there. Busted into where? Into
He busted into Jakar's mind to break up what's going
No,
on.
I didn't
Yeah.
pick up on that. Yeah.
I think it was quite subtle. It was the line that he said before to Sheridan, I think. I can't remember, where he said, "I've always been here."
Okay.
And then at the end, the actual, the butterfly angel thing.
Yeah.
So we can only assume that maybe Jalan was a Vorlon, maybe, or maybe was a Narn who was then mimicked later by a Vorlon or something. Don't know.
Okay. And we have Jakar gets basically because he beat Londo and Veer quite severely because Veer turned up again for an
He
episode.
doesn't seem to have gone for very long, does he?
No, like an episode, 2 episodes
Yeah.
or something, I think. Yeah, he gets sent to 60 days in the station prison, which in television time is not long at all. That is maybe an episode or 2. So I'm curious about whether or not they'll find a way to extend that. Otherwise, what's the point? I suppose they've
Well,
got to have.
They said no
wanted to
less
tell-
than 60 days.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So maybe a little bit more.
And that would be well, depending.
But it depends on how much time happens between episodes.
I mean, it could be half of the rest of the season, or I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not going to be, is it, John? Let's be honest.
Yeah, we don't really see him again.
He's not back until the end of season 5.
Yeah.
Everything takes place in the next 60 days.
He comes out and he's like, "What the hell happened?"
Yeah. Oh, there was a. This is. So, a couple of things from around the beginning of it. You won't get this reference, John, but for some reason, the man going insane in the down below reminded me of the courtroom scene in the first episode of Kenan and Kel, where Kel goes a little bit emotional. Do you know of Kenan and Kel?
I remember
Kenan
that
and
you
Kel.
used to like them when
I
you were a
love
small child, and
John, I rewatched it all in the last couple of weeks.
is it
It's
good?
brilliant. It's brilliant. It's one of the best comedy shows I've seen. Genuinely, it's not just because I've got nostalgia for it. It is genuinely funny.
Wow,
You've
I
obviously
do remember it. I didn't watch it. I was like
it is
15 when it was on.
it is the early teens version of Fresh Prince.
I knew you were going to say that. A show that I never liked.
Really?
I'm the only person in the world that didn't like that show. I don't
wow.
dislike it. I just
You
don't.
just never really liked
Just
it.
don't get it.
But yeah, it's I would actually put it on the same level as Fresh Prince in terms of the comedy,
Wow.
which is saying a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I'll send you the link to the scene later so you can compare. And the other thing is, we had when Besta arrived, Ivanova she went a bit extreme with the way in which she tried to prevent Besta from reading everyone's minds, in that she was going to blow up his ship.
Yeah. She activated the defense grid, didn't she?
Yeah, and well, she said fire.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
actually,
that's right. Sheridan said belay the order, didn't she?
yeah.
Didn't he?
But she actually pulled the trigger,
Christ, yeah.
which really shocked me.
Wow.
And then you had the line, once Bester got on board, he said about a strong wave of revenge or something like that, which obviously came from Ivanova. Well, it's one of those things. Did that come from Ivanova, or is it from Jakar, because the whole situation's over Jakar? But I assumed it was Ivanova.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just off the cuff comment about what just happened. But yeah, I thought that was crazy. I'm surprised she took the plunge with that. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Anything else on this one?
Don't think so. Don't think I've missed anything.
Great.
No.
So,
Oh, I do love the Drazi. Sorry, I just wanted to.
what did they do in this episode?
They were talking about how the Centauri are encroaching on them again, and the Drazi. What were
Oh,
they? The
yeah.
Centauri are talking about the buffer space.
Which has now grown significantly bigger.
Yeah,
than
from
it was
2
originally.
colonies to 7 or
Yeah.
something. But yeah, I don't know. I just really like the way they the way they move, the way they talk, and the way they look. I think they're quite a cool little race.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see my tweet? I don't think anyone bloody did anything with it.
No.
It was a retweet for Green Drazi, favourite for
Oh yeah, I
Purple
did.
Drazi.
Yeah. No one. We obviously don't have
The
many Babylon 5
greatest
fans.
tweet ever.
I know.
Oh, dear.
We'll have to do that again.
Yeah.
Put JMS in there.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we will move on to the next episode. I think things have been quite standalone-y so far for this season. I think because I've talked before about how season 3 is all basically one long story, and it is. But the first episodes of the season, there are always new viewers, and they've always got to kind of take things a little bit easier. So it's not been massively arc heavy, but I think it does over the next couple of episodes start going that way.
Right. Okay.
But again, as I keep saying, as we're doing this, it's been a long time since I watched this, so I will find out with you. So, just before we move on to episode 7, a little bit of an aside. Simon and I went to a barbecue last weekend where we were hanging out with some friends we hadn't seen in a while. And Simon, for the first time ever, found himself on the other side of the Babylon 5 coin, which I thought was quite funny. So this kind of rumour had got around, well, I say rumour, we're publishing it on the internet, that Simon was watching it, and people were like, "Are you really watching it? But it's rubbish." And he was then having to defend it and going, "Actually, it's quite good. I really like it." And
it
just
wasn't
experiencing what I've had to put up with for the last 12 years or whatever it's been.
It wasn't just people saying it was rubbish. It was the spaced quote.
The spaced quote, people laughing out loud.
Yeah, and people go, "What do you want to do that for?"
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Yeah, and I did find myself, I had
good.
I found myself having to say that I'm not on board yet. Like I'm not
Yeah, but that's a
at
lie.
the point where I'm going to call it the greatest show ever or one of the best shows ever, like you. But I'm certainly kind of defending it as being a lot better than I gave it credit for. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just an interesting little aside.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha, you're one of us.
Oh, how the times change.
Yeah. So, episode 7, Exogenesis. Marcus and Dr. Franklin combat an invasion by parasitic aliens that attach themselves to humans, while Ivanova investigates the possibility of bringing a new member into the conspiracy of light.
Yes.
So this is the episode that features the Goa Old, or the Tok'ra, or the Trill, whichever way you want to.
Who are the Trill?
Jadzia Dax in Star Trek.
No idea.
So, do you know who Dax is? It's the kind of pretty lady with the spots down the sides of her face.
What's show?
Deep Space Nine.
Oh no idea.
And she basically...
Any other series?
I think she has
No.
appeared in... She did appear in something else, I don't know. But basically they're the Tok'ra. So the Dax symbiote is something called a Trill, which bonds with humans, and it's had something like 12 humans over the years, and they've all died, and all of the memories and experiences all kind of culminate into this one being, and then every time he passes on to somebody else that wants to bond with him, he passes all that kind of onto them, and so it is basically, like I say, it's the Tok'ra. It's the easiest way to explain it to you then.
Yes.
And yeah, this predates the Tok'ra, obviously. This is the JMS take on the reasonably generic kind of alien symbiote tale.
Yes. Well, it predates the Tok'ra, but were the Gould in the film in the way that they
No,
were? No,
no,
the idea of the space worm
no.
wasn't in the
All we
film, was
knew
it?
that was Ra was an alien. All of that was
Right.
added later.
Okay, but not much later, was it? Because SG-1 was 97.
7.
I
I don't know when the film was. 95?
think the film was like 94.
Right.
So, I mean, not much later than this. Sorry.
No, right. Yeah.
So yeah.
So, yeah, what did you think?
We had kind of Marcus is really making his way around the group, isn't he? At the moment, they're giving him basically at least little moments with each of the people, with each of the main characters. It seems.
Yeah.
You know, you had his kind of conversation with Garibaldi, where Garibaldi was just getting a little bit pissed off that he wasn't stopping talking and stuff, which was quite funny. And then obviously he'd had his stuff with Ivanova on the White Star in a previous episode, and then he spends a lot of this episode with Franklin.
Yeah.
And I thought it was quite cool. He's becoming a more enjoyable character. I think it's still really kind of it's very distracting. His English accent is so distracting, and it wasn't even in an episode that had 3 English actors in it that this episode had. It was still distracting.
So who else was? I mean, Duncan
There was
was.
Duncan,
Yeah.
and there was the bearded guy with the parasite.
Right. Okay.
He was English as well.
Okay.
So yeah, even with 3 English actors, Marcus was still kind of like, "Whoa, you're so English."
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like you said, it was a pretty kind of standard idea on, they think they're parasites, and then it turns out that it's a symbiotic relationship. The parasites are basically like they call themselves living recorders, aren't they?
Were they?
Basically.
Yeah, they were biogenetically engineered. We don't know by who. To record.
Like hundreds of thousands of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. To record everything for the day when the galaxy loses everything. For the day that, just because at some point apparently there's going to be, or there is the chance to be, some great apocalypse, which will, mean that all the information we have on all our computers and that gets lost, then there'll be something that remembers what's happened.
Yeah, and that was quite cool. It was a cool idea that there is a genuine need for other than just survival. There's a genuine need for the host in terms of, they need to be able to go and explore and ingest all of these new experiences and be able to take them on. I do apologise if anybody can hear that. I am having some tiling work done in my bathroom. So yeah, and that was quite cool. And then basically Franklin and Marcus were against this, against these parasites. They didn't quite believe that they were being truthful until one of them removed himself from a friend of Marcus's called Duncan. And old, he's in ill health, doesn't have very long left to live.
He's a down below. He's a lurker, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. And basically, Duncan, he corroborates these parasites' story that they need hosts to survive, and they find hosts who have no purpose, no direction in life, who are ill, are basically, well, the people in down below, as an example. They use those and give them a purpose in life by going and exploring all these things. And yeah, I thought that it was quite, the trajectory of the episode was quite standard, but I did like the reasoning for
Yeah.
why there is this symbiotic relationship.
It was okay. I mean, I did find that half of the episode a little bit boring. A lot of it seemed to be, in my memory, a lot of it is Franklin and Marcus in a cage talking.
And half of it's Marcus saying about how he likes Ivanova.
Yeah, which leads into the second story, which I thought was much better, which
Yeah,
starts with Corwin.
or as I like to call him, Lieutenant Cutie, because he's the kind of like pretty boy, isn't he?
Sorry, listeners. Anyway, can't you tell him to stop working on the bathroom? We're doing a podcast. Right.
Can you hear that really loud then?
No, it's fine. That's just,
Okay. Yeah.
well,
I like
I
to call
say
him.
it's fine. I'm sure the listeners.
No, He's the he's like a pretty boy lieutenant.
Yeah.
Basically, he's been promoted and
To lieutenant now, or was it
to lieutenant.
Yeah, because he's
Yeah.
been in it since the first episode, hasn't he? Just kind of always
Very
in
first
CNC. I
episode,
think
or-
so.
Okay. And yeah, basically he's been promoted, and Sheridan gives Ivanova the task of trying to find out whether or not he's good material for the Conspiracy of Light.
Yeah, because now that he's got a bit more authority, it's basically going to prove more awkward than before to sneak around the guy.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
obviously, it's good to recruit people to the cause, but I think it's more that they just need to know, because he's going to have more access to information. He'll be able to ask more questions, and that kind of
Yeah. Like, is because Ivanova's a lieutenant. Is Ivanova a lieutenant?
No, Vanova's commander.
Is she commander? Oh, bloody hell, I'm getting confused, yeah. Yeah, because obviously they need as many high-ranking members
I think
as
she
they
might
can.
have been a lieutenant commander in the first series.
What, and then when Commander Sinclair went, she was promoted to
Commander,
commander.
and the end, Sheridan's captain,
Right, okay, yeah.
which seems like an odd rank to have on a space station, but I don't know how that would work.
No, neither do I. So, yeah, and it was basically she was trying to find out whether or not he was suitable for the what's it called, the Conspiracy of Light,
Yeah.
and he got mixed messages and thought that she was interested in him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And ended up picking up some roses. I mean, ultimately, it turns out that Corwin is too much of a. I mean, it would be difficult for anyone to answer the questions that Ivanova posed him differently. Like, because even if you did have issues with what was going on at Earth, if your commander was saying to you, "Are you always going to obey the rules?" then you're going to say yes.
so yeah,
So, he
Well,
was
it's-
like, well, if someone was working against Earth, of course I'd report them. And, like, that's what he assumed that she would have won. Like, he would have probably got into a lot of trouble if he was like, well, no, I'd probably let them go,
Exactly, and it would be kind of interesting. I assume it won't go this way, because I'd be surprised if you'd have brought it up if it will, but it would have been interesting if they'd have actually kind of gone that route, and that there was more to this story, and that it turned out that basically he
Quite honestly, I can't remember.
like he was only saying what he felt he had to in order to
Yeah.
give her the answer she wanted. Because that is, like you say, that's a damned if you damned if you don't situation. Like, you do say that you're going to obey Earth orders, and you're untrustworthy and things like that.
She should have taken him to, what's it called, Earhart's, and given him plied him with a few drinks, and not been in uniform.
Yeah, because there's just the general structure of hierarchy as well. You know, these people are bred to, well, they're not bred to kind of obey orders, but it's instilled into them when they join the military in this country, in the world today, that you unquestioningly obey orders.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it turns out that he isn't recruited. I mean, the best part of all that is what happens to the flowers. Because if Ivanover, he's bought these flowers. He then panics and says that he found them outside. If Ivanover assumes they're from Marcus, and sort of goes and throws them at him at the end of the episode. It's so funny the way she storms up to him, throws the roses down next to him. It's like, keep them. And he's just like, oh, thank you. That's so kind. Maybe there is hope for us.
Oh, yeah, he just has completely oblivious.
But you've got to try and imagine, you can kind of, from his point of view, just seeing her as if as if she is giving him flowers, but just the way she delivers that, keep them.
Yeah.
Like that's sort of within her character as he might perceive it. That's quite funny.
Yeah, there's, considering the way that he knows her to be, this kind of hard-edged person, that he thinks that may just be the way that she's comfortable with dealing with these situations.
How she flirts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else in this one?
Sorry, just trying to think. Is there anything else? Did anything else happen in this episode?
I don't think so.
No, I mean, I thought to be honest, I did think the Garibaldi was a bit of a dick when he was talking to Marcus.
Yeah.
On down below, and Marcus was just like, "Come on, it'll take 5 minutes," and Garibaldi just says, "I haven't got 5 minutes." Well, you seem to be wasting a lot of time now, right?
Yeah.
So I bet you do have 5 minutes. It's that kind of thing where, you're like, yeah, but you've been arguing for 5 minutes, so in the time that you've been arguing, you could have just done it. So, yeah, he just came across as a bit negative and unhelpful.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I mean, there was the bit where Marcus started kind of making fun of him, like trying to like sarcastically going on about kind of 14th century, as if he was some kind of as if he looked down on the people in the mud from his castle and stuff like that. And I mean, to be honest, Garibaldi he was very like judgmental of the people down below at that point. Not very nice character work there.
Yeah, that is fair, because he's often been shown to have an affinity for the people in down below, and Garibaldi is very.
Yeah, well, he's the man of the people, isn't he?
I can never remember which it is. It's blue collar, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
he's a man of the people. He's a blue collar worker. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair enough.
white collars like office and stuff like that. White collars business.
Yeah.
And blue collars like proper factories and machines.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, we are going to go and watch episode 8 right now, and we're going to reconvene shortly to talk about that. Episode 8, Messages from Earth. As the Senate continues to investigate President Clark, an archaeologist brings news of a development back home that forces Sheridan to act against EarthGov. The Night Watch tightens its grip on the civilian population. So, Messages from Earth, I don't know what you think, but possibly the best episode so far.
Of the whole show?
Yeah. I mean, it's up there with, what else have been the standouts so far. It's The Coming of Shadows in season 2 was up there. But yeah, I think this one definitely is a contender.
I'll be honest, I fell asleep during this. Not through any fault of this episode. I just did.
I assume you then went back.
I went back and watched it, and it was a little power nap. It was so cold in my room, I wrapped up kind of in my bed, and then I fell asleep just as the archaeologist was finishing talking, and then I woke up as Sheridan was waking up on the ship.
Right, okay.
Which is good timing.
So
I had to go back and rewatch. So my opinion of the quality of this episode is kind of fractured.
Okay.
I did like it, but I don't know whether I kind of liked it enough to say that it was the best there has been so far.
Well, it started with the first I believe it started with the first completely non-cheesy fight that we've had in the show so far.
Yes, that is the main thing. I watched it and I thought, holy crap, we've got a choreographed fight scene.
That looks real and desperate and dirty and like a proper, like you'd see a fight scene like that in a modern show.
There were a couple of flips, a
Yeah,
couple of
that's all
kung fu
right.
flips.
But he's a ranger, it's fine. But compare that to, like, you know,
The Naan one,
Sinclair punching people out in the first season.
the Naan fight.
Yeah, the Naan fight.
Yeah.
This was just a whole different thing. It was really cool. Marcus has got this kind of, he's a dandy and a fop and ridiculous sort of, I don't know, historical kind of, he's like a musketeer or something. I know they're French, but underneath all that, he's fucking hardcore.
Yeah, yeah, with his bow staff. I don't know what else to call it other than a staff.
Extender.
It's
It's an extender. What's that?
a partridge.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I knew you were going to go for that. That's why I was laughing when you said it.
And yeah, they referred to a package in the last episode that Marcus was waiting for or something, and so he's trying to protect this woman who knows a terrible secret from history, and again, there's something about the series that's just stepped up in terms of direction and tone from this episode. I mean, it has been happening slowly, but it just seems to really step up in this episode. I mean, it's quite tense and creepy when she's talking, I think, about her little story.
Yeah. And I mean, going back just quickly, like the bit that I liked the most about the fight scene was the end, where she'd been kind of knocked out by one of these would-be assassins, and the shot is of like she's close up lying on the ground, and then in the background is just Marcus kind of like jumping on this guy,
Yeah,
and just continually punching him in the face.
yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. Yeah, and then she gets taken to the council, the War Council, the Conspiracy of Light, and she tells this story about how on Mars 7 years ago,
Yeah.
they uncovered a shadow ship,
Yeah.
and that they also spotted another shadow. Basically, this shadow ship was inactive, and
it was buried. They reckon
was
it had been there
buried
for 1,000 years or a couple
yeah, it was buried on Mars, and it was inactive. And then they also spotted another shadow ship come and retrieve it. It dug it out, it reactivated it, and they both flew off. And these archaeologists they were split up. They were sent to different corners of the galaxy, and they were told never to talk about what happened.
And they've all been getting picked off.
Yes.
Recently. And then who is it? Her that reveals that they found another one?
Yeah, on Ganymede.
Ganymede. So it's one of Jupiter's moons.
Yes.
And so Sheridan decides to take the White Star and go and fuck it up before it can reawaken.
Yeah, and I did like the seriousness of this situation. Like, it wasn't just Sheridan deciding he's going to jump in the White Star and go off. It's like he had this whole thing that he had to go through where he had to prepare everybody for the fact that he might be killed, he might be captured, or anything. Ivanova's left in charge of the Rangers. He's not taking any identification with him or anything like that, just in case he's discovered. Yeah, I thought that was quite cool because it did, even though with TV shows and films and things like that, that he's not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But it's just that idea of kind of being sold the fact that he could.
Yeah.
Being fooled into the fact that he could, even for a minute. And so I really like it when they went to the effort with all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. And they take the White Star and they fly to Ganymede, and there's a bit that I noticed where Linnea's sort of chastising him for he's been awake for 20 hours, and he's talking about how he doesn't want to get any sleep, and Linnea's like, "We'll be there in 32 hours," and I was thinking, 32 hours? That's enough time for you to go and have a long
Eight
sleep,
sleeps.
a whole day, and then another sleep
Yeah.
before you get there. Like, if he goes off for a sleep now, and you've had to work this hard to get him to go and have a little sleep now, by the time he wakes up, you'll still be 24 hours away.
And how on earth is he going to stay awake for 32 more hours?
I don't know.
What is he on? I think he's
Yeah.
taking some of those stims that Franklin's addicted to.
Yeah. So that's quite funny.
Yeah, and basically, we learn while we're on the ship that the shadow ships work by a living being bonding with the ship.
Yeah, it's because the organic brains are capable of faster processing or something.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
yeah.
it's like Draal, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the giant machine thing.
I was just trying to think of another. There's another example right on the edge of my mind that I was just trying to think of, and I can't. But the one that is coming to mind is Headmasters
Yes.
in Transformers.
Okay. Yeah. No, it fits.
Yeah,
It works. Don't be embarrassed.
no, that's fine. They're more powerful than normal Transformers because of the addition of an organic or human symbiote.
Yes.
Yeah,
No, that is a good shout.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, by the time they get
We're also told that the Earth know about this shadow ship, and they've got no intention of it being taken away from them.
oh yeah.
So they are sending people to Ganymede, and then we get this thing from Delenn about the symbiosis, and so we're getting a picture that they're going to send somebody.
Yeah, I mean, they're not sending people to Ganymede. They've got a whole research facility built
Yeah.
up around it. I mean, they're studying the ship not to find out how to fight it, but how to be more like it.
Yes.
How to take its technology to use against other races and stuff.
Yeah, it's not about defense, it's offense.
Yeah.
And so they come out of hyperspace at just outside Jupiter, don't they? And there are like early warning systems which get alerted to their presence when they come out there, and they intercept a radio communication which does what I just says. It's about a person is entering the ship in order to bond with it.
Yeah.
And so basically they're too late. The ship gets activated, but the person wasn't trained or prepared or ready enough.
Yeah.
Or powerful enough or something like that. And so it sends the shadow ship basically insane. It's a rampaging shadow ship which then destroys this research facility that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Which leads to what was quite a cool like space fight, I thought, between the White Star and the shadow ship.
Unfortunately, Sheridan doesn't have a jump gate that he can blow up this time.
No.
So he needs to think of something else to use as a weapon, and that is Jupiter.
Yeah, and I thought it was quite cool. I don't know how. I mean, I know that they said that it was because it wasn't fully operational, it was weaker. But then I don't know whether maybe it was kind of shown to be a bit too weak. Because basically what happened was they went into Jupiter, and the White Star managed to escape. The shadow ship went too far into Jupiter and was crushed by the atmospheric pressures of Jupiter. So I don't know whether maybe that was just a little bit too easy for them.
I don't know. I don't think so.
No?
No.
Okay.
How creepy is it when the shadow ship? Oh, we haven't really seen a shadow ship die yet. I mean, we've seen one blown up, But when they
No,
die, they
everything
go.
started moving.
When they die, they go just like spiders do. When they die, all the legs curl up.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Mm.
Ugh. And it turned more kind of like vapory, didn't it? Like we've seen before,
Mm.
it wasn't as solid
Yeah.
as it was at that point. And at this point, while the white star is kind of moving around inside Jupiter's inner atmosphere, this is Sheridan's old ship, isn't it? The
Agamemnon. Yeah.
Agamemnon.
Agamemnon.
Agamemnon. The Agamemnon turns up. Uh, do we know who's in? We don't know who's in charge of this ship, do we?
I don't think so.
No. And basically, it has come to intercept the White Star, basically, or the unidentified ship. They don't know who's flying it or what kind of ship it is. They just detected it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As far as they're concerned, they think this ship has caused all the damage on Ganymede.
Yeah. And what they do in order to escape the Agamemnon is open the jump gate inside the atmosphere, which apparently is something you should never do, or something you maybe shouldn't have done inside Jupiter because of the hydrogen,
Yeah.
I think they said about. But it turned out to be really easy. I'm not quite sure what the.
Well, it's not that it was going to be difficult. It was just risky. Like there was a large chance that it would have blown them all to hell. Sheridan probably would have said.
Yeah, but it just kind of Lanier was so concerned about this, and then it's like, oh yeah, it worked. Oh, it's fine. Okay, that's all right. So yeah, they escaped. They got back to Babylon 5, and basically it turned out that the Earth had blamed the destruction of Ganymede on the unidentified ship, and had then said that the Agamemnon had destroyed the ship inside Jupiter, so they had lied, and that President Clark was instigating martial law.
Not necessarily because of this. I think this is a bunch of stuff going on at home.
Well, he's using this as the final. I think he was using this as the final kind of justification
Right. Okay.
for it.
Yeah.
That's the way I saw it.
Quite possibly. And we did have. So yeah. I mean, we're going into kind of the more kind of arc based episodes now, because I don't think it didn't end on a cliffhanger exactly. I don't think it said to be continued or anything,
No,
but it just ended on this kind of, oh, that's quite
dour
a big
note.
yeah, that's quite a big sort of game changing incident that's going to have an effect on everything else that follows.
Yeah,
We did have the second story in this one was more Night Watch stuff
yes,
with Zach still struggling to kind of, well, he's not. He's actually started to turn against. He's started to sense there's something weird about them now. And is
yeah.
that guy that's like makes you feel like God, doesn't it?
Oh, what with the security cameras?
Standing here watching all
Yeah.
the ants. He doesn't say that, but yeah.
Yeah, so basically,
Zach's
Zach,
like,
let's say
okay.
this the second story arc here is concerned with the fact that the Night's Watch have begun. They've noticed that Sheridan's not there. Basically, haven't they?
Yeah, that woman's like, where's the captain? Nobody knows where he is.
Yeah, they become suspicious of the fact that the Sheridan's not there, and they begin kind of at the end of the episode. This other Night's Watchman, he talks about how kind of in order for this to play out, with the captain having been gone for a couple of days, then a number of like higher people must also be conspiring with him, including Garibaldi. He says, doesn't he, Chief of Security?
Yeah, and he tries to get Zach to turn on Garibaldi, and Zach said he
Yeah.
won't do it.
Yeah. And my issue with this is that considering these are a group of people who are meant to identify suspicious or questioning activity, how they haven't noticed Zach yet, because he's been very distrustful of them for quite a few episodes, actually.
Who are you
He
talking
normally-
about? Who? What?
Zach,
Who hasn't noticed Zach?
the Night's Watch.
Well, they think he's one of them. Well, he is.
Well,
But
no,
he's,
well,
he's torn,
yeah,
but he's not making it.
No, but pretty much every episode in which you see the Night's Watch in, he's arguing with them about why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't see that as somebody that would be completely with me. And that's what they're meant to root out, people who aren't loyal to their cause. But there's one right in front of them who obviously isn't loyal, hasn't been loyal really since the beginning. He's pretty much been arguing with what they plan to do since the episode that he joined the Night's Watch.
Yeah.
So that's my only issue with it, really.
Okay.
The fact that they're a bit stupid.
That's right. That's fine. They're evil.
Yeah,
Stupidity goes hand in hand with evil.
apparently.
But they're not, though. That's the thing. That's what's really creepy about the way the government's doing things. They're just, he's obviously a bit more clued in, that particular guy, but the rest of them just think they're doing the right thing. Think they're protecting Earth.
Well, I mean, they're going to be checking our emails, eh, John?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they say,
said-
don't they? They say
Yeah.
they're going to be They say that there's large numbers of important people across Earth in different institutions that have been identified as it's a witch hunt. They've been identified as troublemakers, and they're going to be dealt with soon. And they're going to be monitoring all communications from everyone and all that kind of thing.
So it's turning very sour at the moment.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely. Yeah.
Excellent. So,
So this is the end of our first part
yeah.
of season 3,
There's
because
so
we're
much
going to
to talk
split it up
about.
into 3.
Yeah, we think there's so much to talk about in season 3 that we'll end up doing 3 parts.
Yes.
So, yeah. Thwipping Boys.
If you'd like to talk about Babylon 5 with us, then you can email us at thwippingboys@gmail.com. Sorry. You don't just have to talk about Babylon 5, you can talk about anything. How's your day been? If you would like to tweet us, you can tweet us at Thwipping Boys. If you'd like to visit our blog, you could go to thwippingboys.com. If you want to watch any videos, it's Thwipping Boys on YouTube. Give it a search. And same with iTunes, and subscribe on both.
We even have a Google Plus account, if that's your thing.
Do we use it? Have we ever used it?
I put things on there occasionally.
Right, okay. Well. Yeah.
Maybe if we had a few more followers, we might use it a bit more
Shrug.
often. Yeah.
Yeah, so get in touch.
Yep. Do so.
Well, that's it for now. So let's take our leave, John, and say goodbye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.